Energy Control Act of Newfoundland and Labrador and the Public Utilities Act of Newfoundland and Labrador were set up for development of the province first, maximize revenue after that by exporting. No other industry has been told, no, you can't build here because it's better for us to export power because of the ability to get more revenue, opportunity costs effectively, that we could sell the power out of the province and somebody in Quebec can build a data center and hire these people. But we get a bigger kilowatt hour price than we can get from selling to you. If they were to look at IOC, the Iron Company of Canada, and say we're going to raise your rates by 5%, it would destroy the business case. They have 250 megawatts running. Now they have 2,000 plus employees, so it's easy for them to say we deserve megawatts at cheap power, and that's the argument the province generally makes. They don't quite get the Bitcoin mining side of things. They don't get that Bitcoin mining can be a load control. The only load control that CFL Co., which is Churchill Falls, has is to open the dam and dump the water over the waterfall. So when they have ice conditions going into Quebec, when they have any kind of issues where they need to slow the turbines down, the only way to do it is dump water. They don't have any kind of controllable load where we're sitting here, like you mentioned, or I mentioned, S7s. At near free power, we could probably still make money on S7s if we had a load bank set up at the generating stations. And S9s can still be profitable here. It's just the space. We don't have enough power. It's something that education-wise, and I think like the AI push and everything now, people understand that. So it's something that we're pushing in as well to say, like, you can build AI on firm power. Any kind of non-firm power, you obviously can't. So let's find a merge together where we can use Bitcoin as the fringe, or Bitcoin to build out the infrastructure, and then look at higher tiers of data. So that's basically been our push, and feels like it's been 100 years, but it's been about 8 now at this point.
So if you could solve like one energy or policy hurdle overnight to accelerate projects like yours, reshape your local community and bring development and jobs into it, because it's not just those 32 jobs of you guys providing stable employees, it's the electricians, it's the truckers, it's the HVAC guys, it's the concrete guys, it's the local internet company that if you're not getting internet from yourself, what's a policy that you think really moves your community forward?
Well, I think the biggest thing, like I like to joke, if Tim Hortons wants to open a new Tim Hortons, nobody's looking at it and saying we could sell that power to New York for more than you'll pay for it. McDonald's, any kind of business or service, they don't look at Bitcoin as real. And that was fine. That was an argument with Great North Data when they went business, when they were 13 million in liabilities, a couple million to the government, basically, right? So I understand the black eye, but when you're in business 6-7 years at this point, building, continuing to push, it's not so much a nascent industry anymore. We're here. Our people have families here. It's something that I'm hopeful that the new premier of the province just took over, and he has a more forward-thinking idea that even going back to the Energy Control Act of Newfoundland and Labrador, energy was supposed to be for Newfoundland and Labrador first. Quebec got their deal on export, and that got the project built, and now there's a new deal with Quebec and Newfoundland to build the new projects where Quebec will get a lion's share of the power, and then they'll pay a little bit more for it and make Newfoundland a little bit more whole. But why are we rushing to send our power to the province for secondary value to be added in another province or another state? And it's a typical issue even with iron ore producing. We produce some of the finest iron in the world. It's sought after worldwide, even better than Australia, which is world known for iron. We have very, very high quality iron ore. We ship it out, let somebody else make steel with it. We ship it in for all the other added values. We make the raw material. And sure, that's an economic driver, but why aren't we producing steel? Why aren't we producing value-add products? And that's a similar idea to our side. Why are we sending the power thousands of kilometers over transmission lines with losses when we can turn it into Bitcoin, move it anywhere over a fiber line? So it's something that hopefully, as I think we're talking right now during all-time high zone, so it's hopefully those types of things will show these young blood that are joining the political side that it doesn't have to be all iron. We're not looking to take away power from the iron mines. We could go in and heat their water. We could go in and heat their spaces. We can complement them. It's really what we want to do here.
And so effectively the one hurdle or one shift is put the province first.
Absolutely.
Be province first. Don't be, let's find how we make a few pennies here, a few pennies there by giving all the value to someone else.
Yeah. And like, I love my home province. I don't like to poo-poo on them very much, but it's been a traditional Newfoundland attitude. Let's get our quick buck, get our bird in the hand instead of the ones in the bush. And that Like instead of maximizing the true value of a resource that you have, you're making that quick sale and shipping it out. So I'm hopeful that we'll see those shifts. And like I mentioned at the top of the call, we won't take no for an answer. We continue to push our message. And from that first miner in my garage, when we're cutting holes in my garage, trying to get the heat out, even then we're realizing that like we're in Labrador, the two main communities, there are 20,000 to 30,000 people that live here have electric grids for heat. They were built in the 70s for electric heat. So we're here producing heat that we're dumping outside in cold weather when we could be utilizing that. So it's something that we're pushing on the data center side, but at the same time, repurposing that already existing grid is something big to us. That is what's spun Hestia from Walkman.
And so let's get into Hestia, because I think you guys were one of the first groups to say, wait a second, Bitcoin mining produces this thing called heat, and everyone just throws that away for free. But maybe that's the product for a lot of consumers. And if I'm correct or wrong, but I think you guys were one of the first major companies in that space. Talk to me more about the design, maybe originally, and how it shifted to what the design is today, and how consumers should be thinking about the problem that they might not even know they have about their current heating system in their house or business.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, we're cutting holes in my garage, trying to get the heat out. It might be minus 40 at that point, where I've got electric heaters in the walls of the garage producing heat while we're dumping the heat from the computers outside. So by the time we had to cut the heaters out to add more miners, like, okay, well, this is a problem that we need to solve. So very rudimentary. We built the duct system, a couple fans, set on a thermostat so that when you need heat in the garage, fans come on and dump it in. And that was probably early 2017, really, that we were recapturing the heat from the operation in my garage. By the time we did the grocery store, we're looking at ways that we can get heat up into the tenants that were above from the basement. Basically just ways that at that point we want people to not complain about the noise. You know, hey, had some free heat, because the miners were just sitting on shelves and very noisy, and something that anybody knows about Bitcoin mining, you can tell a Bitcoin mine from the noise. So we've just made that rudimentary kind of by necessity to be able to get that extra 5,000 watts out of my heaters that I had to cut out to be able to add those couple miners extra. We were repurposing the heat. And then my engineer that came on to build at our sites, he's a very smart electrical engineer, spent a lot of years in the iron mines developing and innovating. So we're talking about building data centers and dumping heat. And I'm kind of like, say one day to him, like, because he looks at something, looked at the first ant miner, and he's like, we cut the fans off this and be more efficient. We can eliminate the power supply and put it on a VFD. Like, all these ideas that first day I met him, I'm like, whoa, don't reinvent the miner. Like, design me a Bitcoin mine, right? And he's like, okay, well, I'll design you a Bitcoin mine and then you'll listen to me. Is that a deal? I'm like, yeah, deal. So he designs the Bitcoin mine. If we started eliminating power supplies at that point, the S9 was on a 12 volt architecture that you could have actually put a VFD in series to each other, et cetera. The newer miners scrapped that idea. But through the conversation with him, I'm like, I'm all about eliminating waste. So the power supply loses 5 or 6% or whatnot in transformation. And I kind of just say one day, I'm like, what about the other 93% of heat? And you can see the gears kind of grind a little bit. And he's like, oh, it's all heat. And then that was like the aha moment where even my engineer, he's like, we can make heaters. We make heaters that mine Bitcoin and pay people. So that's where Hestia.
What year was that? Because, I mean, you guys, like I said, were pretty early on in this.
Yeah, that was 2018. We started down that road. We took over our landlord, actually, for one of our sites. We took a little space in our shop, built a little do an R&D facility. And within months, we were heating her shop. By early 2019, we had built some engineered but home-built units that we replaced the heat in the local ski lodge. So the ski lodge here in Labrador West is a nonprofit ski lodge, was built in 1965 or something. Used to host World Downhill Ski Championships. Very poor insulation, obviously, for this building that was built 80 years ago or whatnot. We went in and replaced the heaters with S9 versions of our furnace that basically removed the noisy fans, put one central fan, and started pressurizing the building with heat. So since early 2019, we had actually donated the heat to this nonprofit, basically donation in lieu of rent. We donate the power bill. We actually get the Bitcoin from the operation, so it's a great way to donate, really. But That was 2019. And then at that point, we're like, okay, well, we need to build something that we can certify, that we can install anywhere, air handling furnace. By late 2020, COVID came on, so it slowed us down, obviously, a little bit. But we put our first unit in our own building in Goose Bay in 2021, 600 volt, 80 kilowatt furnace. So it actually has 21 watts of miners hung up inside of it, fully automated to be able to dump heat into the building or dump heat out of the building. Transformer.
And that's a huge furnace, 21 machines. I mean, no one is really building at that scale. And this is kind of where you guys started, which was let's heat how much square foot or square
That's about 10,000 square feet in our climate. And that was kind of the thing. My engineer and I drove around the community, like there's 4,000 homes here in the region. The industry is big. So like you're talking haul trucks that are 50 feet high and 100 feet long. So a garage door in -40 that has to open to let one of these trucks in or let equipment in, you're losing all your heat. Even at 2 cents, it's still a couple $100 basically you're spending to be able to open your garage door in the winter. So that's really where we spotted the first niche market is all of these buildings have to open their door. If a truck shows up with equipment or if a truck comes to pick up equipment, doesn't matter what the temperature is, the door got to go up. And -40 Celsius is -40 Fahrenheit. That's why I like to compare that for your American listeners. But -40 is cold. It's like 2 or 3 minutes exposed and you've got frostbite. So even for the people working in the shops, they've got to put their coats on, they've got to get bundled up before a truck can come in or go out. So that's why we went with such a big unit first. Basically the idea being in Labrador West or Labrador in general, we can walk into a business and say, we'll put in the unit for free, we'll maintain it for free, we'll pay the power bill based on the power meter that we built into the unit. You'll get free heat. We get the Bitcoin. You don't need to understand any of that. We'll maintain the internet connection to it. We'll change the filters because we obviously want the best uptime for our equipment. So that was the way to get people who don't need to really understand what's going on. Since then, now we've got some people that are like, I want Bitcoin. I'll just buy your furnace. That's perfectly fine as well. But power is so cheap here. The energy is already here. The grids are built for heat. So 55-ish megawatts just in one of our industrial parks is there for all the buildings that are there just for heat.